Hello there, everyone. Welcome to the wild, weird, and wacky world of the Word. Yeah, that's when we get together and we look at the scriptures and we go, what is going on here? This is a little strange. This is a little weird and wacky. You know, what does all this mean? How can this be? Well, we have something like that going on this week, and I kind of warned you about it back on Monday for our Mellowing Monday when we took a good look at Psalm 40. And we noticed that Psalm 40 is kind of an odd little bird in that it's a psalm of thanksgiving that quickly turns into a psalm of lament. Well, there might be a very good reason for that. And it's what some scholars would argue is that it really was a psalm of thanksgiving that was added on to a psalm of lament. Either that or someone saw how these two different psalms, a psalm of thanksgiving and a psalm of lament, could actually be combined together into one psalm, but then they forgot to get rid of the other psalm. The part that wasn't a part of the original part. Yeah, okay. What am I talking about? Okay, if you look at Psalm 40, verses 1 through 10 seem to be a unified whole. And it is the psalmist bursting out in thanksgiving to God for saving him from the pit, right? And you get all the way through verse 10. Then you have a couple of verses, 11 and 12, that kind of start leading you in a little bit of a different direction. And now all of a sudden, the psalmist is asking for help again. Like the psalm of thanksgiving is a psalm of thanking God for delivering him from all the bad stuff and evil things that were happening around him. And now all of a sudden, it's happening again? Well, here's the deal. If you really want to look closely at it, I'm going to pick up my Bible here and I'm going to turn to it right now. I have a bookmark here for Psalm 40, and when I flip it over, I look at, here's, by golly, here's Psalm 70. Psalm 70. And Psalm 70 is only 5 verses long, and guess what? They are word for word the last 5 verses of Psalm 40. What? That's kind of wild. That's weird. You mean one psalmist, and remember the psalms were written by various different individuals. Did one steal from the other? Or did an editor, when this was all being put together as a manual for worship, and all these psalms, they were written at different times and in different places, but they were gathered together collectively for worship time and also for individual reflection as well. But most of it, a great deal of it, for corporate worship. Did they combine 2 psalms together because they said, hey, these really kind of go hand in hand. We just have to have a little bit of a segue from one into the other. And that's what they did with verses 11 and 12. And then you go on for the rest of the psalm by adding on Psalm 70 to Psalm 40. Go ahead, read it. Read it for yourself. It's wild, it's weird, and it's wacky. And our biblical scholars, they aren't really all on the same page with this. They don't quite understand what went on. But however you read it, it still all makes perfect sense. For instance, you could just read Psalm 41 through 10 by itself. You could read Psalm 70, verses 1 through 5 by itself. Put them together, you have the perfect example of someone who has come from a very awful experience where literally they thought they were going to die. And maybe they wasn't a near-death experience, but God has rescued him, and they're singing this song of praise, and and thanking God for his steadfast love and faithfulness toward him. And by the way, now, God, guess what? I'm in trouble again. So it can't happen. It's life, folks. It's all about life and how life has an awful lot of twists and turns of its own. And we do find ourselves needing that constant help of Yahweh. But go ahead, read it for yourself. Psalm 40, the whole thing, and then take a look at the last 5 verses and flip over to Psalm 70, and you're going to be going, isn't that interesting? Isn't that a bit weird? God's blessings be with you on this beautiful, beautiful, well, cold and wintry January day.